Call the March meeting of the Black Mountain Town Council to order. Let's stand, pledge allegiance with us. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please keep in mind our service people that are serving overseas. I hope this resolution will come to an end shortly. You may be seated. An announcement, we had one today at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's supposed to have been 11:30, but for some reason it was 10 o'clock. The grand opening of the senior center. Finally. So that was tickle pink that that's going to be. Now if we can just go ahead and move towards getting the basement redone and get that one open, that would be fantastic. All right, I'm going to read an ethics statement here. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the Council, all Council members have a duty to conduct the affairs of the Governing Board in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, or readily identifiable impact for any council member, his or her family, or close business associates?
No.
Does any council member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before the council today?
No.
There being none, all council members have a duty and obligation to vote. I will now read a resolution. This is a resolution honoring K9 Kamen upon his retirement from the Black Mountain Police Department. Oh. We need to wait for our guest of honor to come in. They came in. Anyway, whereas K9 Kamen has faithfully served the town of Black Mountain since 2018 as a member of the Black Mountain Police Department, partner from the beginning of his distinguished career with Sergeant Logan Newhouse. Whereas now at 9 years of age, Kamen retires after years of dedicated and honorable service to the department and to the citizens of the town. Whereas throughout his tenure, K9 Kamen played a vital role in the apprehension of numerous drug offenders, significantly contributing to public safety and the disruption of illegal narcotics activity within the town jurisdiction and surrounding areas. Whereas K9 Kamen also assisted in search operations involving citizens in need, demonstrating the versatility, reliability, and professionalism that a well-trained police canine dog. Whereas beyond his enforcement responsibilities, Kamen served as an ambassador for the Black Mountain Police Department, representing the department in schools, community outreaches, public demonstrations, strengthening the bond between law enforcement and the community. Whereas the partnership between Sergeant Logan Newhouse and Kamen exemplifies the highest standard of trust, discipline, teamwork, and commitment. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Council of Black Mountain that the council hereby expresses its gratitude and appreciation to Kamen for his loyal and honorable service. Be it further resolved that the Town Council extends its appreciation to Sergeant Logan Newhouse for his dedication and steadfast partnership with Kamen throughout his career, and wishes to transfer ownership of Kamen over to Sergeant Newhouse, adopted this 9th of March 2026. And it looks like Kamen is ready to retire and get over.
He looks great. And Sergeant Newhouse, we have a few treats for him to enjoy
You will love it.
at his leisure.
Thank you
All
all so
right,
much.
thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, the next is proclamation of the monarch pledge. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterflies captured the imagination of millions. And whereas both the western and eastern monarch populations have seen significant declines in recent years, and with commitments from the National Wildlife Federation Mayor's Monarch Pledge, communities work to create habitats for the monarch butterflies. Whereas the town of Black Mountain is committed to restoring and preserving habitats and support monarchs' migration each year, maintaining pollinator-friendly habitat gardens at the town square, Lake Tomahawk, the Black Mountain Tyson Public Library, Veterans Park, and Black Mountain Primary. Whereas since 2015, the town maintains official monarch way stations at the Veterans Park and displays educational signage about these efforts. And whereas in 2025, the Black Mountain was one of only 7 municipalities in North Carolina that joined the leadership by taking 8 or more actions for the monarch butterfly. Whereas citizens can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for the monarch in locations where they live and work. Now, therefore, I see Michael Sobel, Mayor of the town, do hereby commit to the 2026 Monarch Pledge with the National Wildlife Federation and proclaim this 9th day of March as the Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day. All right, we've got a couple more resolutions. We've got a resolution recognizing the Women's History Month.
I'd like to share this one with you. Whereas the month of March is nationally recognized as Women's History Month, a time to celebrate and honor the vital contributions of women throughout history and in our communities. And whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have played an essential role in shaping our nation, state, and local communities through leadership, service, innovation, and dedication in fields including government, education, business, public safety, healthcare, the arts, and civic life. And whereas the recognition of Women's History Month provides an opportunity to reflect on the achievements of women who have helped advance equality, strengthen our communities, and inspire future generations. Whereas the National Women's History Alliance has designated the theme for 2026 Women's History Month as Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. And whereas women continue to make meaningful contributions to the vitality, resilience, and progress of the town of Black Mountain through public service, volunteerism, entrepreneurship, and community leadership. And whereas the town of Black Mountain recognizes and appreciates the accomplishments, leadership, and dedication of women who have helped shape our community and continue to influence its future. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Black Mountain, the Town Council of the Town of Black Mountain hereby recognizes March 2026 as Women's History Month and encourages residents to celebrate the achievements, leadership, and lasting impact of women in our community and throughout the nation. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that the council accept this resolution.
All right, you want to just go ahead and include all these resolutions in that motion? Mm-hmm. All 4 resolutions?
Well, I was primarily focused on the Women's History Month, but
Well, I mean, we've got, instead of having to vote, we've got a long agenda.
whatever you think is best, that's
Okay.
fine.
I think Pam is going to go ahead and make the motion that we accept all the resolutions and the one that's yet to be read. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Now, we got one last one.
Yeah, I'll share the resolution recognizing International Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st, 2026. Whereas March 31st is recognized annually as International Transgender Day of Visibility, a day dedicated to celebrating the lives, contributions, and achievements of transgender and gender diverse people, while raising awareness of the challenges they continue to face. And whereas International Transgender Day of Visibility was first established in 2009 by transgender advocate Rachel Crandall to highlight the experiences and accomplishments of transgender individuals and to promote greater understanding and acceptance within communities worldwide. And whereas transgender and gender diverse people are valued members of communities across the United States and within the town of Black Mountain, contributing to civic life, business, education, public service, the arts, and community leadership. And whereas this day encourages communities to recognize the dignity, resilience, and humanity of transgender people, and to promote a culture of respect, visibility, and inclusion for all residents. And whereas recognizing International Transgender Day of Visibility promotes an opportunity for communities to affirm that all individuals deserve to live with dignity, safety, and equal opportunity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Black Mountain hereby recognizes March 31st, 2026 as International Transgender Day of Visibility and encourages residents to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of transgender and gender diverse individuals while fostering a community of respect, understanding, and inclusion for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, Richard, you will take us up on number 3.
Okay, first item that I'm under communications is a proposal for a trash trout installation project in Black Mountain. And I believe we have someone here, Michelle, to make a presentation on that. So.
Hello, thank you for having us here this evening. Thank you, Town Council and Mayor. My name is Ann Phillip. I'm the Stormwater Technician and Floodplain Administrator for the Town of Black Mountain. And I am here to introduce Eric Bradford of Asheville Greenworks to tell us all about how we might be able to host a trash trout.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate everyone's time. Again, my name is Eric with Asheville Greenworks, and I would like to talk to you about a device that we developed back in 2015 here in Buncombe County. It is called the Trash Trout. We like alliteration, so that's where the name basically came from. Asheville Greenworks, for a lot of you, was formed in 1973 as Quality Forward, so that name maybe rings a bell better than Greenworks does, but since our time 52 years ago, our organization's been focused on urban forestry and water quality. We've enjoyed a very long relationship with the town through tree plantings, park building, and cleanups. And so this next venture that we're hoping to go on with you, we hope it bears fruit for you as well too in the cleanup department. So this is a device that we developed. We worked in partnership with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and a few local engineering firms to come up with a device that could sit passively in a waterway, could catch litter, but that's about it. So no critters, nothing along those lines. Would also not pose a flood risk or a hazard in a waterway as well too. This particular device right here that you see, this one's in Tennessee, that's in Stony Fork. We have 53 of these traps in 5 states currently. And basically what they do is they sit in a creek, usually on the creek bed, and wait until we have a good rainstorm, and then it picks it up with the water coming through, and it grabs all of that stormwater litter that is coming from parking lots, roads, places along those lines. Our organization's been running cleanups, coming up in April, it'll be 53 years, and we can tell you a lot about cleanups. But one of the things is I can't have somebody standing in a creek 24/7. But we can with something like this right here, something simple. So according to the EPA, about 75% of the trash that we have in our waterway starts on the side of the roads, and then it's funneled to our stormwater systems into our local creeks and streams. So this is one way that we can put something in line to grab that trash before it continues downstream. Again, we were very cautious with our design. We are an environmental organization after all, so we wanted to make sure that we were crossing all of our T's and dotting our I's with this one. So working directly with Fish and Wildlife, Anchor QEA, and Gentry Geotech, we were able to come up with, again, something simple, modular, but yet at the same time does not affect the local waterway. One of the things that came out of this that was a bit of a surprise for us is reporting. This is something more of Ann's department here, but all municipalities have usually an MS4 or an NPDS reporting requirement through their state. What this does is it talks about control of stormwater in your particular area, if I boil it down to its simplest form. And then you have to show certain controls and certain measures that you're doing. So a lot of people do cleanups, they do programs, education about stormwater and what rushes in. Well, oddly enough, our trash trout was adopted into that. Someone saw these litter traps and thought this is an incredible way for us all to capture this litter before it gets any further downstream. So whatever data that we capture from this can be used with the town of Black Mountain toward that reporting as well too. So it's exciting. So the results are we have about 10 traps currently in Buncombe County. This will be number 11 for us. In our cleanouts, we have found out that we usually have to clean them out about every 3 to 4 weeks. And after that clean out, we're getting about 17 pounds of dry trash. Now, I want you all to close your eyes for a second and picture what a water bottle looks like as far as an empty water bottle. It weighs about 19 grams. And imagine what 17 pounds of that looks like. And so it doesn't sound like it weighs a lot, but it's a volume of trash. And it's an unsightly volume as well, too. So making sure that we're capturing things like plastic drink bottles, styrofoam, plastic baggies, all those sort of things that absolutely do not belong in our waterways. And this is what the trap is made for, is to capture that, keep it, so that our teams can go in and gather it before it gets any further downstream. This is quite significant. Year to date, with all the traps we have in the water, we're something close to about 13,000 pounds of empty water bottles that we've captured so far. So it's been very successful. This is one of the traps that's located in the River Arch District. This is down where the new venue going from the old salvage station. So this is still here. The creek that it's in is actually called Nasty Branch. That's the actual name for it. The town renamed it a few years ago to Town Branch, but the citizens wanted it renamed back to its original name. It is the most impaired waterway in Buncombe County, and so it does definitely need some tender love and care. So one of the things we do is obviously with frequent cleanups and restoration projects, but capturing the litter. So this is actually our most productive trap as well too, because this one's coming off of downtown Asheville. As you can see, it's perfectly comfortable just to sit and on the water, on the creek bed, waiting for the time that it's going to be raining. And it's a simple device, easy to deploy. 4 persons can take it in and out of the stream in about an hour. So that's something that's been really helpful. During Helene, and I'm going to knock on hopefully wood here, we did not lose a single trash trout. They're all designed to have a free flow mode on them so that we can open the back gates and lock them away to keep them from being destroyed in the storm. So yeah, that was quite a test. So we're happy that that worked out. But as you can see here, it's a fairly simple design. It measures in roughly about 6 feet by 8 feet and about 2 feet tall, weighs about 250 pounds, and it is made out of aircraft grade aluminum, so it is not going to rust in the waterway. It's going to have a very long life collecting trash. This is just a simple overview so you can see that we connected with 4 points. The 2 main connection points with, as you can see, the torpedoes in the front there, those are the main connection points in the front. Those are upstream. Those are put in. And then the ones in the back basically are just ropes, just to keep the tail of it from wagging around in the water. So really all your connection is just in the front 2 pieces there. Another beauty shot of it from the town branch. I think that was probably during the golden hour. Look at that. So our proposed location we want to talk about here, and this is working in partnership with Stormwater and also with Parks and Rec. We were able to find a nice little location at Veterans Park. So what we would like to do is, and I'll show you a photo of this, is to locate it in the Swannanoa River just behind the ball fields. So if you'll, just your aerial view of it here, sort of get yourself oriented looking at where Highway 70 runs and then where the River Trail Loop goes through. There's a beautiful section through there. I think it's the Scuba Trail right in there, and this won't interfere with that, by the way, either, in that particular location. But it's a really nice location for a lot of reasons. One, it's very easy to get to it, for our teams to get into it. But then it's a nice point of advocacy as well, too. This is to talk to people about what is in their streams, and then how can we stop the trash from getting into the stream in the beginning. This is the section, myself, Ann, and Clint from Parks and Rec went out and we took a location to see if this is it. So this is roughly where this would be. Again, these traps take about 2 hours to install and about an hour to move if we have to. So this isn't a permanent installation anywhere we put these. So if we try it out here for a while and we seem we're not getting enough trash or it's just not the right conditions, we can come back to the town and try to find another location for it. The sign on the top of the trap is very important to us, and this is because we want it to tell the story. I want when someone is walking past it that they ask the question, what is this and what is it doing here? And we want it to be able to tell people it's like this device is keeping litter from reaching the river. And so the white side of the sign is fairly static, but the blue side, that is going to be for the story that we're going to tell in Black Mountain. So we can say what we'd like on that particular side of it. So we could put Ann Phillips' cell phone number on if we wanted to. That would be really, complaints to Mayor Sobel, right?
Stormwater helpline.
Something like that, yeah. So there's no end to what we can put on there, but basically you can't go wrong with telling your story. And it really does help. This is actually the Cape Fear Riverkeeper here sitting next to his device before it was shipped down to Wilmington here. And as you can see, their sign, they put a QR code on it. It's very easy. People could walk past it, zap it real quick, find out more about the program, but even more importantly, how they can get involved in the program itself. Very simple. So how do we take care of it? So our organization is fairly small. There's only 8 full-time staff members at Greenworks, but we run over 300 projects a year. So one of the superpowers that we have is our volunteer base. And so years ago, we created something called Streamkeeper. So Streamkeeper Corps is our group of extremely highly trained volunteers who work on water quality issues in the 3 counties around us. So Buncombe, Madison, Haywood, and Henderson. So they're working in these areas here. And under our guidance and training, we're able to stretch our resources. So we're able to take folks who have an interest and in some time a background through this rigorous training program so that they can understand what are some of the issues that are going on in our waterways and then how they can help us go upstream, both figuratively and literally, go upstream to try to find where is the problem. Is it a property? And this particular property has a lot of items stored in the floodway that's not supposed to be there. That's something that our organization works really well in. We can work with the private property owner, send in a group, maybe do a cleanup. And that's a lot easier than Ann having to serve this person a notice of violation to get this property cleaned up. And it's more of a community approach to try to help get this out because goodness knows once it gets into the water, it's much harder to get out. And so this is an example. So this is the Biltmore sweep we did right after Helene. Everybody in the blue vest is one of our stream keepers. Everyone you see in our standard yellow vest that you see so often, and for the last 50 years of our organization, these are standard volunteers, folks who just showed up, wanted to do a cleanup with us. But we wanted to break it up, so we use our stream keepers to take these folks to different sections to do cleanups that day. And so that's just one of the many things that these folks can do. So not only are they doing the cleanups of our trash trouts, but they're also helping us to manage those larger groups of volunteers so we can be far more impactful. This is Rosemary Sanfranic. She's actually on the very first trash trout. It's located in Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's our largest trap and unfortunately our most productive. It is collecting, as you can see, everything that's not supposed to be there. There's a butter churn in there. Isn't that wild? But yeah, this is our waterway around here. And how do we head it off? So let's talk about real quick the frequently asked questions. Does the trash trout exacerbate flooding? It's designed to rise and fall with the flow, but if we do not maintain it and we left it there for a couple of years, it would become a beaver dam. And that is absolutely not what is going to happen with this because, you know, both of our organizations are keen to make sure that we're taking care of our waterways. And so with regular cleanouts, we can make sure that there's not going to be that kind of an issue. Does it harm fish or other wildlife? Thankfully, no, with no top or bottom. It does make the trap a little less effective, but it also at the cost that we don't have to worry about finding a critter in our trap. How often do we need to clean it out? Here in this particular area, we've got 3 to 4 weeks, which is, it's a pretty sweet spot there for cleaning out the trap. Obviously, if we're getting more rain, and then you're gonna see those stream keepers on the waterway more often cleaning it out. And then what do we do with the plant, the woody debris that it captures? So we only take the trash that is, so the man-made trash, so that we can get accurate weights, and then all of the woody debris, we cut it up and just let it go downstream like it was supposed to go in the beginning. So let's talk implications. The trash trout is not the cure for our litter problem, and we know this. This is just a Band-Aid, but it's really to start a conversation in our community. Where's the trash coming from? What can we do as a community to try to stem it from ever getting there? What kind of devices can we put in place? What kind of ordinances can we update? Who can we work with in our community to make sure it never gets there to begin with? And so for us, this device, you know what, with us being an environmental organization, is an advocacy tool more than anything else. That's why we're so happy that we have 53 traps in 5 states and growing. And that's what we say to each one of them is, you know, this is not going to fix your litter problem. This is just going to highlight it for you, and so that we can have a longer term conversation about it. This is my contact information. Again, I'm Eric with Asheville Greenworks, and thank you again for everyone's time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Appreciate you bringing this in.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and listening. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity that we have to try this out for our town. No cost to the town. As he mentioned, there's a whole group of stream keepers that will come in and attend to it, so it's not a burden to the town in labor or finance, and I think it would be an interesting thing to see where we could go next with it. And just have it be part of our program here at Black Mountain. So thank you for considering. We'd love your blessing on this project, to see how it goes.
Does that
And
look
what-
like a future agenda item, or what steps do you need?
Mayor, do you have some type of written agreement? If you're gonna bring one over here, what do y'all do to ensure that it's,
Yeah,
made?
that's a great question. So we do, we have written agreements currently with all the towns that they're located in right now. And I can take the one that we have with the town of Woodfin
Okay.
and, send it over for you to take a look-see at. This one was paid for through a grant from the Tennessee Valley Authority. So they're actually wanting to expand 3 more traps for us here in Buncombe County. We have the need. And so, with Ann, this would be really great. We would love to have one at Black Mountain up here capturing this litter before it ever gets down to our section.
So hopefully, maybe by summer.
Oh, we could have it in the water next week. That's how quickly this moves. And by the way, the fabricator for this lives on Christian Creek Road over here. So it's Duncan Welding and Fabricating. So, stays here in Black Mountain. Isn't that nice?
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
I would love to see, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just for next steps, if we can get an agreement that staff is comfortable with, then
Yeah.
I have no problem with moving forward this. I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for putting this partnership together, y'all.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll bring it back to the next council meeting.
All right, next, we
Okay,
got an
item-
update on the public safety building.
Yeah,
That's right.
several weeks ago, the board approved an agreement with, McGill and Associates to do a feasibility study on your existing public safety building, kind of take a look and see what the issues were, what needs to be repaired, what are the problems. They hired a firm by the name of Mosley Architects, who has actually done the building assessment. And this evening, we have 2 representatives from McGill and also a representative from Mosley. You have a copy of the report in your agenda package. I think they're just gonna present some information to you and give you a recommendation as to what next steps should be.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody. My name's Ben Cathy with McGill Associates. And this is Kevin McDade with Mosley Architects. And for this portion of the work, this kind of fell into Mosley's court primarily. So they have kind of taken the lead on this. This is a structure. We're more on the civil and outdoor aspects. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin and let him take off and summarize what all went on and how it looks.
Sure. Well, the town recognized that, the police station, fire station, the building has some issues. It's been presenting itself for some time. I know Helene potentially exacerbated some of those issues. You can walk by the building and see there's been, some remediation or some, what we would call basically support nails through the veneer. You can see, if you get up close, you can see the walls bowing. You can go on the backside, you can see there's some gaps in the brick where the brick has settled down. And then, of course, inside, which you would not be able to see unless you went in, the floor ceiling, there's cracks in the floor. They have active flooding in the basement, which is apparently coming through the retaining wall, which is not a good sign. So they brought us out, we came up, it was myself and 3 engineers, I'm an architect, to assess the building. We assessed everything from the floor finishes, to the roof, to the walls, to the mechanical system, to the plumbing systems. But more importantly, we also assessed what we could see with the structural systems. We didn't have a copy of the existing building plans or anything like that, so we have to make assumptions. And what we can see is there's issues. There is something happening to that building. We don't necessarily know what. We would need further active investigations. What we would recommend is hiring a geotechnical company. They would come in and do some core samples in the building. That would then give us a sampling of what's happening underneath the building to see if there is dirt underneath there. It is not uncommon for buildings, especially older buildings, with any type of problems, where the soil, basically gets compacted or whatever, recedes or washes away, and the floor slab could be suspended. So The fire station side is a slab on grade, which is what we're sitting on right here, it's concrete sitting on the ground. The police station side is actually over the basement, and most of the floor settling is in the fire station side. So that would lead us to believe that something's happened to the soil. It could be there and it's just gotten really soft. If the basement is flooding through the retaining wall, you can imagine if you were walking down a dirt trail on a hot sunny day, you have no problems. But if you go after a rain, your foot sinks down half an inch, 2 inches, depending on the amount of rain. Well, same things to the building. This floor right here is putting pressure on the ground. So if there's water there, you're going to actually, sink down as your foot would too. So we would recommend, doing some active testing, do a couple borings in there. They have to come hand auger it. There's the fire station living room, be a good spot to do it. That's where some of the cracking is, get as close as possible to the crack. They would do about a 4-inch hole, like so. And they would bring in some hand augers and they would do some core samples down. We want the core samples to be as deep or deeper than what the basement level is, so we can get underneath there to see if there's anything happen at the basement level. And then probably do a couple just outside of the building, where they do a rig between the building and the parking lot, down to see what's going on there, to see what's happening. We do know something's happening. I think even since we've done a report, I think the fire chief emailed our structural engineer and said, hey, our mop is now catching this floor crack. It looks like it's gone down a little bit more. So there is something happening to the building. Cost to fix it, we don't know. We put some costs in the report. Of course, those are all on the upper end of the tier, because we didn't want to give you numbers low and then it comes in high. So just note that's what we think the maximum price would be. What the fixes are, we don't know until we get that active testing back. It could be, if there's great soil underneath there, we probably have to look and see, hey, maybe there's not as much, settling going on. There's a storm pipe going through there. Back in December, we hired a company, came and did a little robot, went and took pictures of the storm pipe that goes underneath there. We could see there's water coming into it, about 10, 11 feet into that storm pipe. There's a grate right outside the building, so we started there. It goes in, so we know about 10, 11 feet into the building, there's water actively coming into that pipe. Don't know if it's a small drain pipe or if it's cracking the pipe that the water's coming through. The picture was a little fuzzy on that. But there's definitely active water coming in underneath there, which again is not a great sign. We would recommend that the active testing take place pretty soon. To do those core samples is probably, you can hire directly a company. We can give you recommendations. It's probably gonna run you 5 to 10, most likely, depending if they have access, what kind of access they have, to get those core samples. And then we can, evaluate that and then see what, would need to happen further for design and any possible remediations from there.
So just to give some specifics, so we're saying that we need to get core samples up on the fire department side,
Yes, sir.
and then also in the back and on the north side of the police department then.
Yes, so on the back side of the building,
When you say the back, we're talking about
the north side. The north side, yes. You got about, a 3-foot grass strip or something there.
Yeah.
You want to go probably about a foot or so off the building to make sure you don't hit a foundation. Do a couple there, because that would, help get us some deep borings, probably 20 feet. Inside the building, I don't know how far they could go. Each company might have a different setup. You got an 8-foot ceiling, that might be as deep as they can go. We really want to get down below the basement level, which is probably 10-ish feet or so. So we might be limited on what, it's a pipe size I gotta put in there, just think of a big drill going down. But we would still, that would give us at least some information. If they can get deeper, great. But probably, 1 or 2 inside the building, generally we like to get different locations to see if it's consistent, make sure one side might be fine, the other side might be bad. This would give us an indication what's happening.
So I'm hearing again, you're doing more drilling on the fire department side.
It'd be on the fire department side. Most of the police station is over the basement. So it wouldn't be anything to drill there because it would be in the basement. It wouldn't hurt to have a couple in the basement. They had gone in and cut a trench in there, help get some of the water out.
I did that about 30 years ago.
Did you? So you're obviously, well, if it's been 30 years, then it's been a problem for 30 years. Water and buildings don't really mix very well. So there's something going on there, and it's been going on for a long time.
Now, on the outside, because you got pictures here, showing the brick veneer on the north side. So, are you concerned about any type of settling there?
Yes, there's about a 1/2 inch gap, and it's mostly where the storm pipe goes in. It seems to stop as you get closer to, the fire apparatus base. So something seems to happen right there. Those two exterior borings would help indicate that, because we can get closer to footings to see, is a footing sitting on solid ground, or is a footing sitting on potentially wet stuff? If it's sitting on wet stuff again, then we're gonna have, some more issues.
Okay, well, having built several buildings in town, and knowing that that building was built in the mid-50s as the A&P store to begin with, and there was always streams and marsh in that area, and a lot of blue mud from where over years and years that it washed and got held up. So that could be part of the issue.
Yeah, just, general experience, the older buildings were, the less testing and oversight there was, on the construction side.
Yeah.
So we don't know if today we would have, third-party testing, come out there, make sure they dug enough of that stuff out, got good compacted soil, done some tests on it back then, it probably didn't happen.
And then that's why we may even hit the old riverbed.
Maybe.
So I think that we definitely need to be looking at this, especially on the structural side, just to see what needs to be done. What else do y'all have on this?
I was gonna ask you, I think, one question that you hear from the staff, and Tom, is that, did you come up with a statement or support that the building is safe to be occupied at this point in time, or do you have any major concerns, hey, we shouldn't even have people in that building? Did y'all reach any type of conclusion?
Yes, if you're gonna ask me point blank, is the building safe, my professional opinion is no. That building something's actively happening to it. When's it gonna fall down? Obviously, I cannot answer that, I do not know. I would not recommend, being in the building, especially if there's some natural disaster event coming up. Usually we didn't have, forewarning of that, maybe hours, maybe days. I think a couple weeks ago, you had near blizzard conditions, 60+ mile/hour winds. That's probably stressing what I would feel comfortable being in there. And then the big unknown is, if we ever had a seismic event, like a small earthquake or something like that. Earthquakes are, especially in buildings like that, they move it, even a small one, could be just enough. You get what's called liquefaction, or liquefaction, I think it's called actually, where soil can turn to water, essentially. That's obviously not good. In that we can't predict, that just happens when it happens. Other natural disasters, natural events, you might have some forewarning, but I cannot tell you. So if you ask me my professional opinion, it's not safe.
Even if there aren't any natural disasters, just being in that building day in and day out, are there any health risks to our staff?
Again, if you want my conservative professional opinion, I would say you need to find solutions, temporary housing, until we can get it fixed.
And I don't think the public got this whole report, do they, in their agenda packet, or they did? Well, I just wanted to highlight one page, which was page 37, which was your conclusions, and it's, to me, it was a real eye-opener. And you have ranking a scale of whether it's in good condition, fair condition, poor condition, and a FCI, which is, tell me again what an FCI, facility condition assessment.
Yes.
Above 0.30 means the facility is in critical condition, and our assessment is 0.77.
And that's mainly the structural concerns.
So that was, that really made it essential that we address this in the near future. And what that means apparently is the borings are the next step.
Yes, ma'am.
And
We need
also
some active
finding
testing.
alternative locations for our staff, if I understand you correctly.
That would be our recommendations, yes.
Highly conservative.
What's that?
Highly conservative.
I don't know if I would say highly conservative, but yes, it is, yeah. When you ask me my professional opinion, that is what I'm going to suggest.
And that's fine, and that's what you were asked to do. But I'm just saying, when we begin to look at these buildings that have been there for so long, is there any issues in there that you have found with any mold?
Did not notice any mold.
Okay.
Again, we didn't go up in the attic. There was evidence of some ceiling leaks, some roof leaks. You could have some on the other side of that. In the basement, I didn't notice anything where there'd been some flooding. If that basement floods, you have an electrical panel in there. That was a little concerning when I learned it flood, because you got electricity and water. Again, water and buildings don't mix, but building, water and electricity is even worse.
So you didn't go into the attic to check the roof to see what was the issue? Because I know that you've made comments in here and estimates on what it would take, to fix, but so do you think it's just the roof itself just coming to its end of its life?
Possibly.
Versus the structural components underneath the roof?
Possibly, yeah.
But-
Yeah, most of
but we
our
don't
structural
know on that.
concern is, sub-level in there. So it's gonna be in the ground, the foundations, what's happening underneath there.
Anybody else got any questions?
If I may, can I, just because of the environmental stuff, in August of 2024, the report Angela gave, she did report black mold that she gave to council. And then there are also, just so you know, we do have a high reading of radon in the basement as well. So to let you know that as the environmental stuff.
So now, was that black mold or was that black toxic mold? Because there's a big difference on those.
She gave you the report in August, you'd have had to ask her about that.
I would think that, just judging from all the mold that we had since the hurricane, most of the mold that we have, and we have it everywhere outside, is black mold, not the toxic mold, because toxic mold.
I couldn't tell you that,
Yeah.
just the report she gave in August of 2024.
Okay.
And
Thank
the
you.
radon is current, that's actually
Yeah.
current.
Yeah, we could drill in there and put an air flow in there and pull that radon out.
Well, we're talking
Yes,
short-term fixes, I'm afraid, though, Band-Aids for a long-term serious problem. I feel like we really need to put some effort and attention and probably money into this sooner rather than later.
Doing the core drillings is what they're recommending.
Yeah, that'd be next step, and then from there, we can evaluate and then go to the next step after that.
We need a motion from the board to proceed with that. That was not included in their original proposal, so that will be an additional cost that we'll have to absorb. You do have funds set aside for this project for the initial investigations and stuff, so we can use those funds to cover that cost, but it is a cost that we did not anticipate originally.
Are we ready?
Well, I think we need to act urgently.
Is there gonna be a written change order or something to that effect? Something in
Yes,
writing?
we would need to get, as far as the additional testing,
Yeah.
yes, we need to get the geotechnical firm to give us a firm proposal for that work to then present to you
So could you have that for us by next meeting?
by next meeting, sure. Well, no, I'm assuming that's in a month, right?
I'd like to see us move faster than that. If the board's comfortable with me executing that agreement.
Yeah, you would
Sounds
just be
I'd hate
authorizing
to wait
Richard
till the
sign
next
it.
meeting to get that started.
Happy to.
Let's do that.
Yeah, we work with these companies regularly. I can probably have something 1 week to maybe 2 weeks, if I gave notice tomorrow.
Let's keep this moving forward. It's really important.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and, do y'all need, it's through us, do you need any procurement where I gotta get 3 numbers, or?
No, you just,
It's less than 30,000, right?
yeah.
So just one's fine then? Okay.
So do we have a motion?
Do I hear a motion?
Sure. I'll move that we,
Authorize Richard to sign an agreement relating to this testing.
great.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good enough. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Would you pass that to her?
All right, citizen comments. First up, Cheryl Melton. And again, keep in mind that you got 3 minutes.
Yep.
State your name and address, please.
Oh, Cheryl Milton, 202 Mountain Street, Black Mountain. Good evening. I'm here to discuss the conditional use permit that was granted to Montreat College in May of 2024. At that time, the town council voted to allow changes to height restrictions, ingress, egress, etc., that was related to that project. When this permit was presented, it was brought forward by the then planning director, Jessica Trotman. However, it was not disclosed by her that she owned Trillium Planning, a company that was hired and working with Montreat College to obtain that conditional use permit. According to the town's own ethics policy, any council member who has a financial interest or whose immediate family has a financial interest in a matter before the board must be disclosed. This disclosure did not occur. Should we not expect staff members to do this as well if the town council has to? There's also a procedural concern. North Carolina General Statute 160D-406A states that boards must follow quasi-judicial procedures when determining matters such as special use permits, conditional use permits, variances, and similar decisions. Town council meetings are not quasi-judicial proceedings. Testimony is not sworn, and the procedures required for these decisions are not followed. That is why these decisions are handled by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. In addition, the North Carolina General Statute 160D-403A states that an approval may be revoked if it was obtained through false statements or misrepresentation. Because the relationship between the planning director and Trillium Planning was not disclosed, it raises serious concerns about whether the approval process met the legal standard that was required. For that reason, I believe the conditional use permit granted to Montreat College may not have legal standing. At a minimum, the project should pause and the application should be properly reviewed and voted on by the Zoning Board of Adjustments so that that decision does follow the correct quasi-judicial process. This situation also highlights a broader view. When decisions go through the Zoning Board of Adjustments, applicants and neighbors, those affected, have a clear legal path if they wish to appeal to the Superior Court. A Superior Court judge reviews only the sworn testimony and the official minutes from the board. Town council meetings do not provide that same legal record, which means affected residents cannot have the proper avenue for review. I understand that Ms. Trotman has since submitted her resignation, and my intention tonight is not to focus on any one individual, but to encourage you as the town council and the mayor to carefully review the processes and ensure that they are being followed correctly, not just taking staff's word. Taking the time to understand the role of the Zoning Board of Adjustments and the legal procedures involved in it will help to hopefully prevent situations from this, like this, from happening again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and correct the record for a couple things while it's right here in front of our brain. One, Jessica Trotman was not an employee of Trillium Planning or an owner of Trillium Planning at the time of this application. She did work, or she was involved with Trillium Planning doing work for Montreat, the town, not Montreat College, well in the past. This was a conditional zoning. This was not a conditional permit process. So all the quasi-judicial concerns that were raised would have been applicable to a conditional permit, but this was a conditional rezoning, which is a legislative act. So I just want to be clear, there was no ethical violation, and it wasn't a quasi-judicial action that was taken. It was a legislative action.
I want to say that you might want to look closer at Montreat College's paperwork, because she is listed as Trillium Planning, a subcontractor on that paperwork.
I did look at it, Mayor.
That's good. That's
and
fine.
respectfully, that these facts and statements turn out not to be accurate, and that's okay. We all make mistakes.
No, I didn't make a mistake.
All right. Lisa Crush.
Hello, my name is Lisa Cruz, and like all of you, I love our beautiful town. I would like to speak about my enthusiasm for maintaining the lower 9 of the golf course as a place where our community can safely recreate outdoors. The neighborhood I live in is adjacent to the lake and the golf course, and my friends and I have been walking these paths several times each week. ever since the days of the pandemic when our local hiking trails were closed. We started walking there again after Hurricane Helene. A majority of my neighborhood is an aging population. We do not have sidewalks where we live. We need nearby green spaces to walk on that are safe, beautiful, and connect us to the outdoors and each other. We are aware that our tax dollars go towards town projects, and one project that we feel passionate about is maintaining access to these walking paths while also providing increased wild habitat for our local plants, pollinators, and populations of local frogs, migratory birds, beavers, and an array of other large and small living beings that rely on natural spaces to survive, thrive, and reproduce. As I look around the town now and see trees being cut down every day, our Appalachian forests are being fragmented into very small remaining sections, or being completely clear-cut, or being completely paved over for commercial, educational, and residential projects. And I feel sad that our community is losing so much of our commons, the spaces where we gather and recreate, and that so much native habitat is being destroyed in the process. One of my favorite memories last year was when all the mowing and chemical treatments stopped on the lower 9, and there were tall grasses and wildflowers blooming. The bluebirds were singing, a red-shouldered hawk was flying overhead, and in the distance I watched a mama bear and her 3 cubs climb a tree. It felt like walking through a truly magical land. I was experiencing a full-body sensation of peacefulness in this place. It was nourishing for my eyes, my heart, and my soul, and an incredible reminder that when we leave habitat undisturbed, life finds its way back. Golf courses all around the US and Canada have been converting back into recreational areas and wildlife habitat for decades. I would like to see a community conversation open up here around how we can protect and preserve this area as a natural space for people and a nature preserve for plants, pollinators, and all of our animal allies. With all of the rampant destruction happening in the world today, I want to be somebody that uses her voice and her energy to promote possibilities for nourishing life on this planet. And I believe that here in Black Mountain, we can be a shining example of care and conservation that supports the well-being both of our human neighbors and that of our wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Kramer.
Hey, Chris Kramer. I own a home on Cherokee Avenue.
Remember, you got 3 minutes.
I've got 3 minutes, and I wrote it down, and I'm passing out handouts of exactly what I'm about to read. I'm also here to talk about the golf course, because as I understand it, there will be $200,000 being voted on tonight, if I read the agenda correctly, regarding that, regarding the lower 9. So I've got 5 points. One is what I like about how we currently have it as an open green space is using the space for all members of the community instead of just people who are using it for golf. I've been there, I see frisbee, dog walkers, I've seen people on crutches, I've seen joggers, I've seen hikers with hiking sticks practicing for more challenging things, picnics, artists, I've seen people painting, bicycles. So I like that diversity and having that as a space for many people. 2, a multi-use green space increases both mental and physical health of our community. I find walking these areas personally helps me to stay in better shape and definitely helps to calm my mind because of the gorgeous views. 3rd, less chemicals means healthier waters and less cost to having to mow, less fuel for even the mowers. It's an environmental plus for wildlife in our waterways. 4, opportunity for a pollinator garden, rain gardens, trees, and I've got more details there, but I don't want to take too much time. 5, it just seems like a neighborly kind of thing to do because we do have a 9-hole golf course up and running right now, and that is a lot of land. And I would just like to see like a compromise where part of it is open green space, and we already have part that is for golfing. So, thank you
Okay,
for
thank
listening.
you, Chris, appreciate it. Richard Hudson.
My name's Richard Hudson. I live at 106 Pleasant Drive Circle. The last two speakers have just made me sick to my stomach. I've been playing golf and caddying Black Mountain Golf Course since 1965. This golf course is not only for recreation, it's an economic engine for this town. Supports businesses, supports tourism, a lot of different things. But anyway, the town has proven tonight with the report about the police station and now the shape of the golf course that we really don't do any maintenance. We just let things go. The police station obviously has been let go, and the golf course has been let go for 10 years. We always talk about we want qualified people and we want the best. We sure don't do it at the golf course. We have people over there that they show no pride in what they're doing. There's sticks and limbs, trash and everything that have just been laying there for months and months and months and months, ever since the storm. You know, what are these people doing over there? And y'all have proven that you can't do it. So I either think we need to hire a qualified PGA pro and a qualified green superintendent to get over there and fix this golf course. Number two, lease it to a group and let them do it and pay you money where you won't lose money. Number three, sell the golf course to somebody that knows how to run one and just be done with it, because y'all have no interest in it whatsoever that anybody can tell. You know, what you've let happen to this golf course since the storm is sinful. We pay y'all to do this job, and y'all have not done the job. You have done nothing. You sit here and listen to Josh and Jessica, and all they were doing is they didn't want to do anything. And so y'all didn't want to do everything. And also, I want to say something to the attorney. I don't think you ought to be commenting in our town meetings. That is not your job. You talk to them in closed session or something, but you shouldn't be running your mouth about what somebody says.
Is this you maintaining civility when you talk about maintenance in this community? Mr. Mayor, I don't appreciate being attacked. I really don't. And so, in any event, it's really, I'm gonna make the record as clear as possible whenever there's potentially any slander statements being made. That is my responsibility to protect the interests of the town.
And you have, and you have a time to speak. I mean, in our agenda.
I'm gonna do it contemporaneously with the slanderous actions that are potential, just so it's fresh in everybody's mind.
Just so we're not, okay. Now we got Theodore, is it Cruto? Cruto.
How you doing?
Good.
I'm gonna pass because part of my issue was resolved
All right,
before.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Edwin Aronson?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You've seen me here before. I'm trying to get acquainted with the town and see how things are running. I'll try to keep this brief. I live on Vance Avenue at 167, and I consider myself so lucky to live there. I consider our town a wonderful place. and find it very interesting that we've got multiple, I'll say quadrants, even though it's kind of a triangle of natural areas. Riverwalk, which there's a beautiful plan for, and it's in motion or about to be. The Lake Tomahawk area and Veterans Park, making this very cool triangle. I happen to be living in a spot that was cut off due to the storm from veterans, and we were very fortunate to have access to 87 acres that Monterey College owned, very graciously let us through there. I think we all know that it's very different in the past couple of weeks. All I've heard are chainsaws, and I just think it's worth mentioning. I think it's a big thing that's happening in our town right now, and I know the plan has been underway for a long enough time. I didn't do full research when I bought the house, still grateful that I did. I do see the golf course as a potential way to lean into green spaces. So I do support the people who spoke a few people ago, and I just think it's worth mentioning and worth the conversation. Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, thank you, Edwin. And the next gentleman is Jake Disabantino.
I'll do the second session.
Oh, okay, you're right, I didn't see that, okay. Thomas Grigman.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm also in favor of opening a discussion about the use of the lower part of the golf course for open spaces to continue.
Okay, very good, thank you. And last, Alan Tripp.
Thank you. It's an active night for the golf course tonight. I'm Alan Tripp. I live at 109 3rd Street, Black Mountain. I am the director for the supporters for Black Mountain Golf Course for the citizen side of things. And I just wanted to report a win today. Hopefully you've all heard that the new equipment was delivered today, so that's a good news. And I think that continues to go on. And frankly, watching the golf course since it has been reopened on the back nine, I have to disagree a little bit on the staffing and the quality of the staffing. I think you're amazingly understaffed, and they have done a tremendous job of keeping the golf course viable and active to go forward. And I think it was a smart decision to continue to mow and to treat the front nine, so now it's viable once we get ready to bring it back together. I think, as most of you know, the golf course is running right up to its 100-year anniversary, which is amazing for a city of this size to maintain that for that length of time. And it is recreational. I have used the front nine myself, love walking my dog there, but it is also a tremendous asset to the city, not only for recreation, but for community, but also for bringing people into Black Mountain and for bringing revenue into Black Mountain. If you look at the rounds to date in opening nine, we've run 15,000 rounds of golf, which is pretty good revenue, not enough to sustain the whole thing, but if you go back prior to the hurricane, it was running right at 22,000 rounds. So I believe if the city, I think the path you're on is a good path. I know you're trying to balance a lot of things, but if we can get the golf course back up and running 18 holes, I think the golf course could be freestanding and pay for itself, while if you look at most of the research for a golf course of that size, 60% of its use comes from people that are vacationing here or coming into the city. It creates for the city $1,300,000 of revenue coming into the city, into our shops, into our restaurants, into rentals, etc. So it's not only a beautiful asset, which it is, but it's also an economic engine for the city. And I just want to, keep that at the forefront. if you look at the investments coming forward from the Tourism Development Board and from Buncombe County, they're putting $3 million into bringing the Muni back in. They've got tremendous investment around everything regarding outdoor activities. So, it's asked, so.
I appreciate it, but that's 3
That's it?
minutes. Yep,
Yep.
that's it.
All right.
Thank you for your support. You appreciate it. All right. What do we got, Richard?
I think that concludes items, the section 3. Just a couple of items from myself. The league staff did arrive today, and they spent several hours going through our budgetary stuff, and I think they're gonna be here until we get all the issues resolved, and we have a very clear understanding that they're here, they're ready to go.
What type of time frame are you looking at, you think? Week, 2, a month?
2 to 3 weeks at least, probably.
Okay, so.
As the mayor mentioned, the senior center opened today. The town does have a consultant that wants to meet with the board sometime in the near future to discuss if there are any potential uses for the basement. So we would like for you to be thinking about a special meeting sometime before the end of the month. Someone, I think we'll have some zoning issues and stuff to discuss too. So if you would be looking at a date for a special meeting, maybe that 3rd or 4th week of March. We have posted 2 job positions. The first one is for the Parks and Recreation Director has been posted, and the second one is for the Public Information Officer. So those are posted, and we should be getting applications soon. Mayor, that's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Wesley, would you mind sort of polling the board on that special call meeting? And then also, Richard, are there other job postings that are forthcoming, or is that the priority right now, is those 2?
Tom, I'll probably talk to you later about a couple of others, but which I think I want to do on an interim basis as opposed to filling those, permanently right now.
Thank you.
Craig, you can
Nothing
have.
else for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any communication from the council? Want to make any statements?
I have a comment. Jessica Trotman's tenure with the town of Black Mountain concludes at the end of March. She's not here tonight because she's taken some time off, but I would like to recognize her for the work she's done while she's been with us. She's worked hard, she's worked quietly in the background. In the last 2 years alone, she's brought in $20 million in mitigation money. That's no small feat, and it doesn't just happen. Money doesn't just show up without a lot of work going into it. She's, you've heard some comments about her tonight, but I would say the town of Black Mountain has been well-served by Jessica Trotman. And she's not here tonight to recognize her, but I wanted to make sure that those comments were made in her absence.
Richard, if you could get with Pam and with Jessica, I'd like to see that, just a sheet of paper of the total of that 20 million. See how that breaks out.
Are you thinking that was, excuse me, never mind.
I'd just like to see it.
Sure.
I'd just like to see it. All right. I will go ahead and make a comment on since it's my purview, being mayor, I've got the bully pulpit, so I'm going to speak to the fact that this golf course is part of Black Mountain. I mean, it's the idea that we would go ahead and think about getting rid of a moneymaker. I mean, prior to Helene, the golf course pulled in over $100,000 clear profit. That was while competing with Broadmoor and with the city of Ashland, the Ashland Municipal Golf Course. Broadmoor's completely down. City of Asheville's only got nine holes, and it'll take them another year. So if we could make that kind of money with competition from two other full 18-hole courses, if we could get this course opened, we could bring some revenue in. Not to mention just revenue for the town, but the revenue for the businesses in the town. And for those people that play golf. So I certainly hope that we can move forward and get this thing going. All right, Richard, if you can lead us on consent agenda.
Okay, we got several items for you on the consent agenda. The first item is the adoption of the meeting minutes, February 5th, 9th, and 25th of 2026. The second item is the monthly tax collectors report. The third item is to call for a public hearing on April 13th, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. to amend Chapter 1, Section 1.73, variances to remove the requirement that only signs in the historic district may seek a variance from the sign regulations. The next item is a call for a public hearing on April 13th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to amend Chapter 9, Section 9.10, administrative adjustment of signage regulations to additional administrative adjustments for ground signs, cantilever ground signs, and development identification signs. The next item is call for a public hearing on April 13th, 2026 at 6 p.m. for update to the town system development fees. And at the end, Mayor, we do have somebody here that would just like to make a few statements on the system development fees. They're the consultant that you actually hired to do this. So if we could add that at the end of the
New business.
Under new business, if we can. 7H is consideration of a budget amendment resolution for the North Carolina League of Municipalities Insurance Proceeds and Mobile Office Trailer Lease Payment, which will cover a portion of those lease payments. Item 7I is consideration of a budget amendment resolution for Norfolk Southern Railway lease payment, which the board approved. And item 7J is a resolution of support for the Fonta Flora State Trail, Black Mountain to Point Lookout Trail feasibility study, which you have a copy of. And that would be all of the items for consent.
Let me ask a couple of questions on the 7H, on the mobile home trailer lease. All right, that started out first with FEMA doing that, and then that was transferred then to the Army Corps of Engineers. And then we heard that they will not be reimbursed. We have to pay for the lease.
The lease was actually transferred to the town, I think, in December of 2025. So the thought at the time was FEMA would cover those costs because that wasn't covered under our insurance. But since then, FEMA has stopped doing anything. So they're not covering any payments of anything right now. There was some discussion from FEMA that our property insurance should cover that lease. Since then, we have received information from our insurance carrier that their limit is $50,000, and they underestimated that by about $34,000. So they're sending us the $34,000, which takes us up to their $50,000 limit. That $34,000 will actually pay the lease for January and February of this year.
So we're going to be on the hook from now on.
From that point forward, we send it, to FEMA, say it is no longer covered by the town's insurance policy. That lease cost should be paid by FEMA, which the town would have to pay it, then they'd reimburse us for that cost. But we don't have a firm answer from FEMA as to whether they will continue to pay it in the future, if they don't, of course, it's the responsibility of the town to cover the cost of the leak. FEMA should pay it, I mean, it is,
And hopefully Congress will go ahead and get this DHS funding and all that worked out by the time we meet again in April. But would you come back and make sure that you update us on that?
Yeah.
And then also too, what the lease agreement is as far as us breaking that lease, if we need to get out of that $17,000 a month,
Yeah,
if
I'll go back
FEMA
and
won't
look.
cover it.
I think it's a 60-day notice, but I'll check to be sure.
If you would, please.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions on the consent agenda?
Just to confirm, you were asking that we remove item E, 7E, to new business?
Yes, I didn't realize they were gonna be here this evening, so Tom, we do kind of need to give you an update on how this moves forward, so if we could move that to.
So we'll go after 11J, then we'll go with 7E then. Under new business, okay?
But I'm sure they've got somewhere to go, maybe we can move it up earlier.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, we can do it right at the first of it, a minute. No,
Okay.
All right, we'll move it to the first thing on new business. 7E, okay. All right, any more discussion on the consent agenda? If not, all in favor?
I think we need a motion with the
That's
amendment.
So 7J is the resolution to support the Fonz Fuller Trail feasibility study.
Yeah.
I have spoken with them further, and they think that that is sufficient for their needs, but they may request further adoption, which would come at a different time. But just wanted to call it out.
Thanks for that update.
Do I hear a motion then for the consent agenda?
I'll move that we adopt the consent agenda with the removal of 7E, replacing it under new business.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we get into public hearing. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, we got the first public hearing is for the consideration of approval of a voluntary annexation of property owned by Givens Highland Farms, which is property identification number 0609-46-7498, and Michelle Kennedy will give you an update.
Sorry, I was having tech issues and my computer's not up and running. This is mainly related to an extension of Givens Highland Farms and voluntary annexation on their behalf. And I think we have folks from Givens Highland Farms here today that can speak to specifics of that, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Jim Boyer, I'm the Director of Facility Services at Givens Highland Farms, and this is probably about the 5th or 6th time I've been here with a similar request, so I think we're all familiar with what we're asking.
And basically describe what it is that you want as to why you need this. Why do you need this?
This property is contiguous with the balance of the campus. It'll provide access for a new development that's already under construction, that's been approved by the town, and will also provide fire access on that road as well.
Speaking of, and I'll just mention this now, our town spends a tremendous amount of money on providing police protection, fire protection, and emergency 911 services. And we've got a lot of nonprofits. And is there any discussion, is there any talk within your organization about making some contributions to our city to help with these services? Because you're a nonprofit, and right now you're not required to do that.
No, I understand, and As a matter of fact, I had a discussion with our executive director this afternoon about
And
considering.
his name is
Pardon, Matt Sharp,
Matt Sharp.
correct.
Okay,
He's new. I think you might have been familiar with Ken Kramer.
correct.
Ken has moved on. He's now the executive director at Aldersgate Community down in Charlotte, which is also now affiliated with Givens Organization. Matt Sharp came to us from Deerfield.
Okay. So what's some of the discussion that you could share with us?
He was approached by Jim Bingham from the fire department about contributing to a truck that was needed. And I've had heard more about that earlier from Doug Morrow, fire marshal. And so that's something that's under consideration at the moment. We do pay for trash collection. The other amenities that we provide for the town, the fire department has access to our lake if they need to draft water for a larger fire and when water is no longer available. We've donated 4 different buildings to the fire department for their use to be able to train, and they brought other community fire departments in to join in with that training. One of them they were actually able to burn, which is one of the things that they really enjoy doing. And then the economic benefit that bringing more town people into this community, providing our local merchants with more, the shopping and additional revenue.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to single out Givens Estate for this, because there's others that are around. We got Ridgecrest, we got Christmont, Camp Dorothy Walls, and we've got quite a few others. So I just think that it's what I would like to try to see, and we're not going to get into it tonight, I'm just planting the seed. We need to get with Craig, our attorney, to try to see about trying, if we can't get money from that way, to try to just to see if there's some agreeable fee for service.
Understood. And as far as the contribution that Jim Bingham was soliciting, what our suggestion was to gather some of these other nonprofits and put a coalition together to be able to contribute for those, if the fire department needs new equipment, that sort of thing.
Well, I congratulate you for being looking down the road and see about getting the coalition together. I think that would be wonderful, because otherwise, we're providing this service. And so to be a good total community, a give and take. So
I totally understand.
I will stop with that pontification and ask, has anybody else got anything they want to say before we open up the public hearing? Okay, all right, thank you, Jim. Public hearing, I need to get a motion to open up the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody wishing to speak to the public hearing? At the public hearing, please come forward.
I would just like to ask,
Yeah, come on up and sit down and give your name, please.
Rebecca Ridgel, how do you intend to preserve the delicate balance between Highland Farms and those who, as our mayor said, are part of the total community of the working class, who are the real neighbors of Highland Farms? How do you intend to show us that respect? That's all.
Okay, all right, good enough, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? If not, I hear a motion to close the public hearing. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we now have on here a suggested motion for the voluntary annexation on 318 Tabernacle Road.
I would move to approve the voluntary annexation of 318 Tabernacle Road into the town as presented.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. All right, now we'll move on to the second public hearing.
Okay, Mayor, second public hearing is actually to consider approval of a rezoning of the property you just annexed from Gibbons Highlands Farm, which would be from R1 to OI6. And again, I'm not sure if Michelle has any additional information for you, but
No, I mean, that's essentially the essence of it. Happy to answer questions if you have any, but not to belabor what's on the table for the rezoning.
For this, can I ask you a question first? For the sake of those that maybe don't speak planning, could you
Yes,
illuminate
I was grabbing
the
the
numbers
sheet.
and letters? Yeah, thank you.
I apologize, my computer went down and I'm trying to pull it back together.
Well, it was a Mercury retrograde, so sounds about right.
Get to the right file here in just a second.
Do we have the planning board's recommendation?
Apologize, y'all, I'm so out of order with Wesley on this. He's much better at holding these together than I am.
I can hand you mine. I'm not that
I think I got it now, finally, but, okay. So it's basically, it's a 2.5 acre parcel. And it's been purchased by Gibbons Highland Farms, and it's zoned R1 by Buncombe County. So what they're looking for is to increase it to OI6, which is the zoning designation for the existing 87+ acre campus. So basically, it is to bring it under the same conditions that the existing Highland Farm campus exists under. That's the plainest way to say
And
it.
it's organizational, industrial,
Yep.
that's the same as the rest of the Gibbons campus.
It wouldn't change anything, it would just bring it into consistency with the remainder of Gibbons Highland Farm. So if they're, as they've purchased that property and look towards expansion for that, it makes sense to bring it into the same zoning standard as the remainder of Gibbons Highland Farm.
And both of these items have already come before the planning board.
They
with
have.
their vote and blessing.
Yes, they have and were approved by the planning board. And, it was a 4-0 vote of the planning board, just for your information.
I mean, your actual ordinance says that it's consistent with your land use plan and the comprehensive plan, so.
Yeah, there was a statement of consistency from the planning board as it relates to Elevate Black Mountain and our, all of our comprehensive plans. So all of those things were in place, and again, apologize for being a little scattered on this today.
Should we open the public hearing?
Well, we're just gonna see if anyone had anything else to ask.
Oh, sure.
Michelle, this map here, do you have access to that?
Yep.
The, kind of like shaded, like darker gray outside of the green, those are town limits, is that right?
Yes.
And so it is, I mean, obviously, we just brought it into town limits, but, the neighbors there are outside the town limits, they're adjacent to this property, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, with this parcel.
Yeah,
With that
this-
parcel,
yes.
with the annexation of this
Not
parcel.
the campus
No.
in total, right, yeah.
The 2.5 acre parcel. I would move that we open the public hearing.
And Doug, just to your point, and it's contiguous with the rest of Gibbons Highland Farm, which I think is an important thing to keep in mind as you're having this conversation.
This new property,
This new section is contiguous with the remainder of their property, which is important. It's not a satellite somewhere separately, so it presents and many of the comments from the planning board is it's a consistent growth pattern that's contiguous with the existing site that they have.
okay, thank you.
And Doug has made a motion to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to this issue, please come forward. Not seeing anyone rushing. we will go ahead and get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor? All right, now do I hear a motion to change the ordinance, the zoning?
And just a reminder that if the motion is to adopt the ordinance contains a
Statement of
of
consistency.
reasonableness and consistency. You
Yeah.
would be doing it all simultaneous.
Yeah. So do I hear a motion to adopt it, and of course, the statement of consistency also in that motion?
Yes, I would move to approve the ordinance rezoning the property from R1 to OI6.
And the
as
state,
presented with the statement of consistency.
okay, all right, any discussion? Not all in favor? Aye. Okay, passes. All right, now we have our second citizen comment. Jake, you wanted to speak?
Hello,
It's Disabontino?
DeSabatino.
Disabontino?
Pretty close.
Okay. Address?
25 Goldmont Street.
And you've got you've got 3 minutes.
Great. I'm Jake Sabatino. I live, I work, and I own businesses here in Black Mountain. Before I ask anything of you guys, I want to just thank you for what you do. I mean, it's not easy to just sit up there and be berated by people. I know tonight's a relatively tame night for y'all, so it's got my heart beating already, so thank you for what you do. I really appreciate it, especially with the challenges of the day and the times. I'm also here to comment about the golf course, which I'm sure you're excited to hear about. But despite all the notes I have written out, I think I'm just going to try to make a reasonable request. Based on what we've heard, even just tonight, comments back and forth on both sides of the aisle, the monarch butterflies, the beautiful land, revenues, profits, course quality, financial situations, everything that's going on right now, to me as a business owner, just screams, where's our pro forma? It screams, do we have a plan for what we're doing? Or are we just pursuing every opportunity that lands in front of us? My last month's agenda included a building that was nearly $1 million over budget, and it was not planned, which is why you guys rightfully tabled it. Tonight's agenda includes bridges at $200,000, which is an outrageous price for two tiny bridges, in my opinion. I'm an engineer, by the way, so it's like somewhat qualified. There's more money out there that we know we're gonna have to spend, no matter what the plan is, right? So if we know that's the case, my request to the council and to the town at large, and I'm happy to help in any capacity that I can provide assistance, why don't we circle the wagons on this? Create a plan, provide possible futures, consider the feedback of the community. I mean, we have this golden opportunity where the status quo is no longer what it was. And if the possible outcome is we want an 18-hole golf course, but we want it to be the best in the nation, maybe that's the outcome. But we should at least consider the possible outcomes, evaluate how they do on a business pro forma. Do they actually have an ROI? What is that ROI? Is it the most valuable thing the town could be putting in? These are just, again, me, simple entrepreneur, trying to wrap my head around the town spending likely 7 figures into this asset. And it is absolutely an asset. So my request of the council, and I don't know exactly what next steps look like, but I request that we create a plan and we work that plan. Thank you.
If you could go ahead and, if you had any thoughts on that you could put on paper and send it to Richard, that would be great.
I
That you could share.
absolutely have thoughts on that.
Very good. Thank you.
And a preliminary pro forma.
Okay.
All right, he's already sent me some of it.
Sounds good. All right. New business?
The new business first was your, fees that you charge for development. So your system development fees, you have to update that every 5 years. You have hired a consultant to do that for you. We have published the proposed rates. Your next step is to conduct a public hearing on those rates, and you can adopt them after the public hearing. But Don, we do have our consultant here to
Good evening. My name's Dale Sheepers. I'm with McGill Associates. I've been with them for about 10 years now. I was local government, public works director, utility director type for about 30 years. So council meetings are not new to me. You have an interesting crowd, as I find in a lot of places, and it's good exchange. I'm here today because I began a system development fee study for an update. I actually did the first one 5 years back when the law changed and the legislation required a system development fee study to be done in order for you to charge a fee for the capacity that you own and have available in your utility for new connections to be made. So you're basically recovering some of the cost of an investment you've already made and have value in that asset, and you're being paid for that as those that are requiring and demanding that capacity are using it at the point of connection. Okay, I've done the study. It was about a year ago that I started. Everything came to a grinding halt with Helene when I was just ready to, the town was just ready to go to that 45-day public comment period. Brakes were put on, and then just recently we started things back up, and we've completed the 45-day public comment period. The next step is then to have a public hearing. So the comments that were received during the public comment period, which I believe there were none, if the study would have to be adjusted for some of those comments, that could be done. Also, that would have to occur if there are comments of the public hearing as well, and the council can address that in a number of ways if and when there are comments from the public comment period. So in terms of process, you need at a minimum every 5 years to do an update. If you do not do an update, the fees that you collected would then be at risk to be returned to those that have paid it because you don't have a system development fee in compliance with the current statute. So to keep you current with the statute, we've got the update ready to go, and from that point, you would have the public hearing, and then you can adopt the study at that point. And once you adopt the study, you can then set your fee. Okay, the study gives you the maximum cost justified fee that you can charge. Doesn't mean that you have to apply that fee. You can use any number up to and including that number, and it's based on $1 per gallon per day capacity demand for a potential customer coming in. So you can set that fee anywhere you need to based on local condition, preference, and other factors that you would consider beyond just what the standard calculation gives you for that fee. Okay, so I will be happy to answer your questions at this point, kind of more on a process basis. You've probably seen the study. It was reviewed by staff and put out for public comment. I'll be happy to answer individual questions about that, not in this forum, but if you do have specific questions, I'll be happy to answer that. And I will attend your public hearing in case there are comments from the public that I can help answer. So
Give us some time frames as to when does this 5-year window that we're in now close?
The window that we're currently in is, I believe 2020 is when you adopted the first system development fee. So at the end of that 5 years, I think it was in the fall of 2020. So the fall of 25 is when the 5 years expired. But if you are in the process of doing the study to update within that 5-year period, then you're still contiguous and you're still okay, in my opinion.
For how long?
For the next 5.
Oh, okay.
So you adopt the fee.
So we don't have, we're not under the clock right now.
No.
Okay.
No, not now. The study, the 5-year update began within that 5 years. So if the process takes a little longer, unforeseen things, hurricane, that kind of thing, you're able to, in my opinion, not an attorney, but in my opinion, I believe you're well within what the statute allows.
And what are we looking at for, when is this public hearing?
I'm at your April meeting.
It's in April for sure.
Yes.
All right.
And so what we're doing now would be a call for a public hearing if we.
Yes.
Yes.
So we need a motion to establish that April date as a date for a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Alice has made the motion. Any more discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for being
Thank you very
here.
much.
Next one.
The next item is a petition to dedicate Brookhaven Drive to the town for maintenance and public use. The owners of the residents on Brookhaven Drive have requested that the town accept that street for upkeep and maintenance. Public Works and the fire marshal have inspected the road, and I'm actually recommending that the town take over this road and sidewalk with a single provision, and that would be a no parking sign to be installed at the end of the turnaround. The mileage is approximately 1.2 miles, and once you accept it, then it will be up for the
0.12
town.
miles.
Yeah, I was like, I know that road.
It's-
It's not a mile,
Yeah.
okay?
It's 0.12.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, it's up before your consideration this evening to accept that road for town maintenance and upkeep.
And again, happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Now, the one comment I have on this is like we've been, several things have come to us in the past. Years ago, we accepted anyone that came in as long as the street was in condition. But
Yeah,
with all the money that we have to come up with, and we don't have enough power bill money to even take care of the existing roads we have now, I don't have a vote on it unless there's a tie. But I'm not in favor of bringing them in.
I certainly understand, and if you'll recall, a couple months back, there was discussion about a private road takeover in the village of Cheshire that was not recommended by the Public Works Director or the Fire Marshal or my staff, that we did accept as a public road. So just as a reminder that there has been something of a precedent set as it relates to that. And in terms of comparison, this is a much smaller piece of street and much more applicable in terms of acceptance, but I'll leave it at that.
If you do want to take action, you've got an actual resolution to accept the street in your packet.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this quite a bit with Cheshire, and the piece that I came to with it was kind of viewing that as a whole neighborhood, a project that had already been endeavored, not a great use of that word, but anyway, we had already kind of opened that process, and that we were gonna, at least I anyway, but I think there was, some conversation across the panel here that, we wanted to look at this perhaps more critically about how much we want to take on when we're not able to keep up with road maintenance.
We are actively in a process with public planning, Public Works, and the fire marshal to discuss the specific criteria that would have to be met in order to do this.
Okay.
I think that there was some criteria in place, but it was not necessarily something that had been adopted by council and may have been used in certain departments, but not kind of codified. And so I think that will be a really important tool to make sure that you guys have a clear process moving forward for does something meet the criteria or not meet the criteria for acceptance. The issue with this particular item is, in the absence of that, we're kind of in a gray area, so this one is kind of left for you all to decide without that protocol being fully completed. We hope to have that ready for you in that work session in April.
Cool.
So we could postpone this until we see if it meets the criteria.
I will
that
defer
you're-
to the town attorney, but I believe so.
You don't have to take action tonight if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I love that y'all are putting together kind of a rubric, so that we can have a thoughtful and hopefully consistent conversation as these applicants come forward.
Yeah, it became clear we needed some further consistency, and it needed to really be, like I said, kind of codified, so that it's clear at all levels what the expectations are. So, we've been working with Public Works and the fire marshal to do exactly that.
Well, and there'll always be discretion and conversation
Sure.
that goes into it.
There'll always be a one-off. But if that is something that you are interested in doing, we should certainly be able to have something before you all in April to consider and give you a framework.
That would be my preference.
Yep, I'm a fan. I think there's no harm in putting this off for
Yeah.
a month to have that tool so that we are consistent moving forward.
Yeah, I'd rather have a more
Okay.
thorough discussion.
So,
Thanks.
we're just gonna put it off.
Okay. Next agenda item is to request authorization from the board to do a phase one environmental report. You are working on accepting a donation of 2 properties from the state of North Carolina, possibly for a future public safety building. One is a 5-acre tract, and the other one is just over 11 acres. And prior to accepting that property, I think you ought to do a phase one environmental report on each parcel to make sure nothing's there. I know it's free, but once you take it, if there are issues, you would own them. So I think we need to do that study. The actual cost would be about $6,000 for both parcels you currently have, and an agreement with McGill and Associates to do a study of that property anyway. So this would just be an amendment to their current contract, but it would be an additional cost of about $6,000. But I'd hate to see you take land and find out later that there's something on it.
Well, like I was speaking at the agenda meeting, I know that most of that land there was filled up with bark from the American Cardboard Company, because I drove the truck, it used to help fill that thing up. And also too, down on the corner of old US 70 and North Fork Road, there used to be a garage there. And I don't know if it was Babb or if it was Brooks, but there was a big garage there for years and years and years. And so practices in those days of recycling oil had a particular way of recycling. And it didn't leave the property. So I think that that's what Richard is recommending is I hope y'all will consider that.
I do think it's essential that we get eyes on what, we need to look the gift horse in the mouth, I think. That said, I can't help but acknowledge that, all these costs are adding up, and I appreciate discussing this after having our presentation from Mosley and McGill on our public safety building. We need to, this is a huge gift to have from the county willing to contribute in this way.
The state, I think.
Oh, from the state, my
the state of
apologies,
North Carolina.
my apologies. But anyway, I needed to vent that out loud, I guess, so.
Just for the public and for all of us to be aware, I think that this 5-acre parcel, I think there are restrictions on what we could actually build there. The hope, from my understanding from the fire department and the public safety and police department, is to use that more as training grounds and, rather than a place where we would build a structure. But
This parcel.
This parcel.
Yeah.
The 11-acre is a different story. Still, I think your recommendation is wise, and we should move forward with that study.
How many acres in this
5.
Then you have two separate parcels. You got a 5-acre parcel and just over an
And then,
11-acre.
yeah, but this one here's
parcels.
5, okay.
So they would do the phase 1 on both parcels.
I wouldn't be too worried about the 11 acre, but this one here for sure.
You still ought to check it though, just to be sure.
But might as well check them both.
So because we only have the parcel information for the one, do we need to specify anything in a motion or have a separate motion for the second piece?
I think the motion would be to have a phase 1 environmental on both parcels.
Okay.
I mean, it's $6,000 cost, covers both parcels.
Anybody want to make that recommendation? I mean, that motion?
I would move council authorize the town manager to obtain a phase 1 environmental study for the property being donated to the town by the state of North Carolina.
Okay. Discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
All right, next.
The next item is a request from Duke Energy for the town to grant an easement for a phase 3 electrical line along the edge of hole number 12 of the golf course, which runs along North Fork Road and Green Drive. I'm gonna reach back out to Duke, and their standard easement for an underground line would be 20 feet wide, so it would be 10 feet on each side of the underground line. For the overhead, it's a 30-foot easement, so 15 feet on each side. I did also ask them, would they consider paying us for said easement? And their response was, they do not pay for easements. So they're asking that you actually grant the easement moving forward. There's a copy of the map in your agenda. I'm packing both you out on number 12. There's a long row of it. Of some older white pines, and they would run walk on the edge of those.
Should they be
white
running them on
pines.
on the golf course side of the
Yes,
pines?
it'd be on the golf course side of it.
Which would mean then that would interfere with play there.
Well, they'll bore the actual line during construction. They won't open cut it. It'll be a bore for about 1,500 feet. So there may be some interruption while they're actually out there, doing the boring, but.
Yeah, a couple things stood out to me. One is just trying to figure out why they need this, and I do think that this is important. The circuit would provide increased reliability by allowing the system to backfeed between the circuits. So it would help reduce the duration and number of customers affected during an outage. I think that I'm all about supporting, our ability to handle power outages and limit the impact of those power outages. I do have some concern, there's no specifics, as some tree work would be necessary. I'd like to know what that some means. I think some can mean different things to different people. Also, that is a beautiful row of trees, and I don't feel like I have any sort of expertise in understanding the impact that boring a hole through the ground would have on the root system and those trees, and what would happen if that did end up killing some of those trees, what that would look like.
Well, the bore would be much less intrusive than a trench or an open cut. The actual trimming of the trees would be on that side street where they had to add an additional pole and be overhead line. So that may require some trimming on the trees on that side street there. But only for those overhead lines, not the underground lines. Wouldn't be any trimming for that.
And there'd be no overhead line running the length.
On the golf course, there'd be none, just on that side street, and I can't remember the name of the side street there, but they do have to set an additional pole, so there'll be some additional overhead line on that little side street, so.
I see.
Yeah, I'd be curious to get a response for them on the numbers for, I clocked that same phrase, Doug, around, reducing duration and number of customers affected during an outage, half of town? Like what kind of scope of impact are they, anticipating with this? And then specifics about the tree work that they would like to do. I'm not a no, I just have more questions than this provides.
I think they would be more than welcome to come to a town board meeting if you want to ask specific.
And I also had questions about kind of the parameters, you know, how long would the easement last, or when, you know, what would trigger, for lack of a better word, a time when they would need to come back to a future council and ask for, you know, approval to do more tree work, or is that just baked in forever?
Once you give them.
Yeah, is that the?
I think that's the case. I didn't see an actual written easement.
They hadn't seen one yet, they just want to know, will the council consider one?
Well, I think he's not asking you to approve anything tonight. I think he's asking you, give him direction on to keep the ball moving forward.
And if you still got questions, we can ask them to come to their next council meeting. They're more than willing to do so. But the service, I think, is if there is an outage in that specific area, they want to be able to feed. I mean, it's not something that would improve service for the entire town. It would just be for that general area right there.
Well, I am in agreement with Doug. I think that's important and part of our resilience plan, but yeah, those are the kind of things I'd like to kind of flip back their way.
And we can have them come to your April meeting to address any questions or concerns you might have.
Question I've got for Craig there, having spent 12 years on the MSD board and putting in new lines, having to get right-of-ways, we paid for right-of-ways. So is there anything germane just to Duke Power that they are immune from having to pay for a right-of-way?
Oh, no, what they're telling you is, we're giving you a benefit by improving your service. The trade-off is you're gonna give me an easement for us to do that. That's what I'm understanding, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Like any entity, governmental or private, you can't just take somebody's property.
Well, I'm just of the opinion that we need to go ahead, they need to be paying something to us for that.
Yeah, that sounds like it may be a deal breaker, but I think that's something that Richard can certainly explore. I'm just mainly interested in seeing what rights they want to get for free.
Yeah.
And, you know, what they can cut off, and certainly overhead lines, there's usually outside the easement, the right for them to remove danger trees and all kinds of trees even outside an easement. So I'm just curious what their easement would say.
The only negative, I guess, if there's an outage in the future, and they say, well, we tried to help y'all, we tried to get it where we could, you know, hook you up earlier or to back feed you where you wouldn't be out, so.
Well, maybe they can move that electrical box out of the police station.
Yeah. All right, we'll have them come back at your April meeting. Next item is to adopt the stormwater master plan and the associated capital improvement plan, which you've had. I think you were actually given a presentation on the plan a month or so ago, so we're asking that we go ahead and adopt that plan to help us apply for additional grant funds and other projects to try and move some of those forward.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the stormwater master plan and capital improvement plan as presented and recommended.
At the last meeting, we were talking about going ahead and getting especially for the Hurricane Helene projects, the 26, 27, whatever the number is, to make sure we'd had a flow chart that we could see what the project is, what's going to be done, where's the money coming from, and what we're committed for.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
On this, I know what you're saying. This is outside of that, but I think this is one of the things here too, that if we had some kind of a system that we know, because as Alice was talking about, we go ahead and we agree to pay this, and then we agree to pay that, and next thing you know, we got 20 or 30, but do we really know what we've got unless we could just see it on some type of a comprehensive flow chart?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to do
Yeah,
that,
we
I'm
put
just
something
saying,
together, yeah.
that's something that I think that we really need to get, because especially when we start getting into budget time. Different things like for starting up a fleet maintenance committee, and so that we look at all the vehicles that we have. Just, anyway, do I hear a motion on this? Oh, you made the motion, excuse me. I wasn't focused. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, next item is a proposed partnership with Carolina Elite Soccer, and we have someone here from Carolina Elite Soccer. We also have our staff present to give you some more information.
Good.
It's a long time to wait, thank you.
All right, no problem. I'm Colin. I'm with Black Mountain Parks and Rec.
I'm Joey Giratelli, the director of CISA, what was CISA Asheville. We're now renaming ourselves CISA WNC, Western North Carolina.
This would be a partnership for our outdoor soccer program, where CISA would come and help do coaches clinics at the beginning of the season and after the season, few player clinics during the year, and then also allow our kids in our program to participate in some of the CISA tournaments that Jody and them also have. It would cost us $8 per kid, but that could also come straight out of registration, which is $70 for residents of Black Mountain and $80 for non-residents.
And that was one thing there that kind of caught my eye. I mean, you gotta make money, but then again, every dollar we add to this.
Sure.
These families, these young families that have young kids, and every time we start adding another $8 here and there.
I can address that if you, I know you guys probably don't want to spend a ton of time with it. It is not a, recreation soccer makes no money. It's not intended to make money. It's intended to expose kids to the fun of playing, the fun of exercise, the fun of the right things in soccer. And a lot of the issues with recreation soccer, you can give kids a great experience and they say, hey, I like this, I like being outside. You can also give them a bad experience and they think they don't like something that maybe if they'd had a good experience would end up being a really positive thing in their lives. So as I talked with Colin about how we could do this, I looked at what we could do. The $8 is not a fee we're charging. In order for us to interact with those kids legally, who are Town of Black Mountain recreation soccer players, we need to register them with NCYSA, the U.S. Soccer State Association. That's how we clear our risk management. Before I go and talk to a kid about playing soccer, they have to be player card with that. So that's the fee the state charges. That being said, there's no way around that for insurance purposes before we come in and bring our coaches to do that. I don't want $8 a player for a couple hundred players to end up being why we don't do this. You know, it doesn't go to us, it goes to the state association. You know, every location you have, I just put an insurance rider on. That lets us bring coaches in and work with your players, your kids. I hope to be in Black Mountain. We have a lot of Black Mountain kids. When they want a higher level of training, they're driving to Asheville. You know, the ultimate goal is that we will bring another level of training here to Black Mountain. That's not the immediate goal, but that is a long-term goal, to be transparent. I'd like to see more opportunities here. I'd like to see a lot of those families that are helping. I'm very sensitive to the dollars that every family has to spend. As you know, the highest levels of youth soccer can get very, very expensive. You know, if you play at the highest levels, you're spending...
Traveling all the time.
You are, you know, I mean, we went from local soccer to all of a sudden you have a tournament in Miami and one in Seattle. And it is what it is. At the same time, reaching players who might have aspirations. I do want to play at a higher level. I want to play in high school, I want to play in college, I want to play beyond that. It's just having a pathway that's available to them. This is not about transforming rec soccer into that. This is about coming and helping make sure that we help Colin and local, you know, you have a robust recreation program, and it's about helping that be an even better experience. And then if that results in players saying, hey, I want a little more, you know, that's.
Well, I'm not trying to penny pinch because of the fact that my commitment to soccer was evidenced in the fact that I coached for years and the fact that I went ahead and designed and helped build the indoor soccer center here in Black Mountain, which is one of only 2 municipalities in the state have their own soccer center. So I'm committed to soccer.
Fantastic.
But there again, I'm thinking of the families and this. So I'm a little bit torn. I don't have a vote on it, but I'm just a little bit torn on this.
Well, I think we can address that too, and Colin, if I can put you on the spot a little
Sure.
bit, it was in our packet that we have scholarships available or other ways that we support families that
We-
are on a tighter budget. Could you
Yes.
speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, right now, it's anybody that needs scholarship. I don't really ask any questions. It's $20 for them to join, and basically that's just covering the cost of the jerseys.
Yeah, and I love that we have that option, and
And with outdoor soccer, we're looking at usually about 140 to 160 kids for spring and fall. Usually a little bit smaller during fall. But then for indoor soccer, which we wouldn't be partnering with CISA for indoor, we're looking at over 500 kids.
So I know a number of families who send their kids to Asheville, the various, either CISA or YSA for play soccer. And I think anything we can do to enhance our youth program here, I'm certainly in favor of. There weren't a ton of specifics in the email that we have as far as how long this partnership would last or anything like that. So I guess I don't need those right now, but I guess my suggestion would be that we try this out for the fall season or fall and spring if you're not prepared to start for the fall.
This spring.
I'm spring. I don't know where I am in the year. This upcoming spring season, see the reaction from the families and the players, and see if we think it's worth the additional cost or not, and kind of go from there.
Okay. Right.
We would be thrilled with that, and I think you'll be thrilled with that. So we'd love to try it, and you can look at it for the fall. It would be great.
I'm in favor of trying that out as well, and I just would hope, Colin, that I'm sure as you do, it sounds like you already handled this with a lot of grace, but just to solicit feedback from folks about how the cost is feeling, and I'm always open to other creative ideas, sponsor a kid or something that we can do as a community to.
And we might be able
keep this
to actually
robust.
just cover the cost by maybe like a sponsorship, a business.
I'd love to, see what we can do.
Is that a motion?
Did you want to make the motion?
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
Okay.
And we're asking, well, this motion would be authorizing the town manager to execute some proposal. We don't have a written agreement. So you're giving him the discretion, working with town council as to the particulars of that. I always worry about the term partnership, because under the law, you become co-liable for your partner's activities. So anyway, just legalese and stuff is important.
Yeah.
So we would, I don't know if you have a sample partnership you've done with other communities, but we would have to enter into an agreement, because this does contemplating us paying money. And we need a term, all right, or ability to exit, each side does.
Like an MOU, is that?
We do
Well,
have an MOU with Little League baseball, we could do a similar thing with.
Yeah, whatever the label is, we ultimately need to figure out what the agreement is, and if you want to give Richard that discretion to figure that out, then working with me, and you can say that in the motion.
When does the spring season begin?
April 13th is the beginning of practices.
Yeah, April meeting would be a little tight.
Well, I mean, if we can authorize the town manager to execute that agreement.
Y'all need to get us something pretty quick,
Yeah.
so we can look at it and have.
I can get you something quickly that you guys can see what you want to do with that. I mean, the only urgency for us would be just getting those players registered with the state, so we're covered on that.
Do you know generally how, it's $8 as a contribution by the town, right, per person? Do you roughly have sort of an estimate of how many people we're talking about? So that
140 per season.
140?
I think that's what you said.
140 to 160.
Okay. Sure we have that in the budget?
It's $1,500.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you just
He's gonna try
incorporate,
to get it sponsored. so.
incorporate that you're giving that discretion to the town manager, working with the town attorney to come up with the agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I think between sponsorships and families that can chip in or, support other players, I think, I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign on to this partnership with Carolina Elite Soccer for the calendar year 2026.
And working with the town attorney.
In work with the town attorney, of course. Yes.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Before we've got 5 more items on new business. Thank you, gentlemen. Before we have to go into closed session, does the board wish to take a quick break now or take a break right at the end of the meeting before we go into closed session?
Let's try to get.
You want to get through it?
Yeah, I would prefer to.
All right, we'll just go,
People have been here long.
just throwing it out.
Thanks.
All right, next item is a motion to approve an amendment to the Buncombe-Madison Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, which the town of Black Mountain is a member of. They're just some minor modifications that were required by the state, so we actually have a resolution attached to the back of it to amend the Buncombe-Madison Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan approved, that was adopted on June 14th, 2020.
I know Jessica's not here, but I just had some questions about, dealing with costs and this increase in resiliency to hazardous impacts on water. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, basically, hazard mitigation plan, once it's adopted, it allows you to apply for state and federal funds. So then you decide on each individual project. It might be 100% grant, or it might be a grant and a match.
But we have that discretion to accept the terms. Yeah.
Yes, but the adoption of the plan allows you to apply for those funds. If you're not a member of a hazard mitigation plan, you're not eligible for funds.
And it's just minutia, but this is the town of Black Mountain, and yet it says in here sewer infrastructure. Well, we don't own any sewer infrastructure. It's all MSD.
Yeah.
Now, it may not make any difference. I'll leave that to Craig to say whether we need to just leave it in there.
On what section is that?
That's under mitigation action PP3.
Okay.
At the very end of that sentence, sewer infrastructure.
It's just a broad statement saying water and sewer infrastructure. If you don't have sewer infrastructure, you can't apply for funds for sewer.
Well, I'm assuming.
Other members do have sewer infrastructure, so.
If a hazard arises as a result of sewer, the town, there may be some involvement with the town in dealing with it, regardless of ownership. But this sounds like a Bowler Point amendment in order to be eligible.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the amendment to the Buncombe-Madison Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan for Mitigation Action Plan section as presented.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, next item is to authorize staff to pursue reimbursement through FEMA for our overtime cost during ice storm. Fern, I think our total cost was about $39,000. It was a declared storm. If FEMA does go back into business anytime soon, and they do, declare that applications can be made, we do want to, to make an application for repayment on behalf of the town of Black Mountain.
Is there any significant reason why you would think we would not want to pursue reimbursement, like staff time to prep those documents, or?
Well, it's kind of when kind of what you squeeze out of the lemon may not be worth the effort.
That's my concern.
But I think I think we'd wait and see what the restrictions are and the amount of paperwork and stuff. If it's not worth it, we won't do it, but if it's, if it turns out to be a fairly simple process, I think we ought to try and get as much as we can.
Well, I can appreciate discernment on that.
Pleasure of the board.
I would move to ask the town manager, town staff. Oh wait, there is no motion here. I would move that we instruct town staff to make the judgment on whether or not we should pursue reimbursement for the ice storm.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is the bids for the replacement of the golf course bridges. You currently have a bid in the amount of $199,500 from Dan Grady Company. I spent several conversations with Mr. Grady to kind of see what his bid consisted of. His thought was, when he looked at the bridges for his bid, he thought it would be cheaper to completely remove the bridges, not use anything that is already there, and completely rebuild
Both of them, 3 and 5.
both bridges. He is convinced that since you are completely removing the bridges, that it becomes not only a golf course bridge, but a pedestrian bridge. And if it's a pedestrian bridge, because you do have people walking the course, not everybody rides cars, and you do have people walking the course at different times when they're not open or not playing golf. So he's convinced for it to be American with Disabilities Act compliant, that you had to have handrails on the bridge. And of course, all the FEMA regulations, the additional cost. So that's how he came up with his bid of $199,500. I do have a cost estimate from a different contractor. His proposal would be to take out the current abutments, and take out the steel, and you'd actually build the 4 new concrete abutments. You would use the existing steel to fix what was there, and you put new boards on the bridge. His cost proposal does not include handrails, but his budgeted number is about $90,000. So to basically take all that stuff off, build your new concrete abutments, and to put the steel back and to put new boarding on it, just that cost is about $90,000, and that's basically a current estimate of his that hadn't been actually designed and hadn't been priced out completely. So that's an estimate as to the cost. So you currently have a bid. We took bids twice. This is the second round of bids. So I think we're at the point the town either needs to accept a bid or reject a bid, and we'll, start considering other options.
So, I haven't gotten in the weeds, if no one asked me to. Is this being, do we have an RFP that define the parameters of these bridges, what their use would be, so that we have an apple-to-apple comparison? Because it sounds like one bidder is believing that the use of the bridge is pedestrian, therefore triggers all these other requirements. The other one does not. And so we're getting an apple to a watermelon comparison. And so do we have an RFP where we had an engineer look at what would be required together with our recreational department or golf course folks to say, here's the use that we want to engineer to, kind of thing?
These 5 that bid on the second round of the project were all bidding off the same bid documents, which, Tom, which outlined what was required for the bridge, so.
And so did we include in there that we wanted to be ADA compliant because we thought this bridge would be a pedestrian bridge?
I'm not,
It doesn't sound like we did.
No, I'm not sure that we did, but.
So it's, because you have a responsibility.
We didn't engineer this, I mean, we used, somebody else's specs, and they just kind of, put together a bid package, and that's what everybody bid. But they didn't spend, $30,000 engineering it either, it just sort of, took specifications from a metal bridge that would be placed on the pieces of concrete, and that's what everybody bid on. I mean, it does make sense. I mean, if you got people walking on the course.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a
Kind of like if you walk off the bridge, you probably shouldn't be walking on it anyway, but.
I mean, we just
you do
had,
have
we
to
just
be worried
replaced the
about
bridge
your.
like 2 years ago, and it didn't have handrails, and so I think it was actually paid for by FEMA. Maybe it wasn't, maybe we abandoned that.
I think we paid for that bridge, I believe, so.
And the gentleman that went ahead and submitted this bid was the one that redid the bridge on number 18.
Which bid? When you say this bid, which bid?
This last bid.
I just have
Yeah.
a cost estimate from,
1.9, the one we just redid.
I mean, this is SF Bird customer
No.
rating.
No, not that one, the one on 18. You tee off of 18, you have to cross the creek there. And he redid that, now that was a culvert in there, but I mean, but he did that, so I mean, he's done work for the town.
I got you.
Well, I take the point of we had a citizen speak earlier about having kind of a larger plan and, strategy in mind, so, I guess I don't, Richard, you've said that we kind of need to make a decision tonight. I would appreciate this being part of a larger conversation and getting a little more apples to apples information available. And figuring out, do we need this to be ADA compliant? It's hard for me to be anti-ADA compliance. I want all of our residents to, get to go out there and, whether they're watching someone else play or, playing the course, walking their dog in the evening, get to be out there.
Well, I just worry about, you have a responsibility on the law to look at lowest responsible bidders. And, if you got apple and a watermelon proposal, then the apple folks are not really putting in an estimate to get to the watermelon.
But I think the lack of clarity is coming from here, maybe not from the bidders.
And as far as being ADA compliant, we're talking about a railing. A railing. We're not talking about that we gotta have this engineered somewhere. I mean, it's a railing on the bridge.
So we gotta double the price difference from the $90,000 bill to the $199,000.
Well, and if you look at the other bids, there's some in there that are one's over $500,000. So these things are all over the place.
Well, yeah, I think maybe they didn't want the job.
Well, I mean, they didn't have to submit the bid. I mean, if they didn't want it, it wasn't like we held a gun to their head and had them do it. We need to get the golf course opened.
can I share a couple of thoughts about it? I'm trying to listen and learn from everybody's point of view here, but I've always looked at the golf course as a business. You know, it has a lot of non-tangible results, you know, bringing in folks to town and so on that spend money, and I totally understand that. And, you know, for decades, it was in a separate enterprise fund, and the town taxpayer subsidized the operations cost, and understanding that it was an asset to our community. Well, this particular issue that we're being asked to make a decision about feels like the first of many decisions we're going to be making to get the golf course up and running. This isn't the only, I mean, the lower 9 up and running. This isn't the only thing that has to happen, and not the least of which is more staff. You know, if we've got 2, maybe 3 people currently working there, they can't possibly run an 18-hole golf course. So, I mean, I'm not telling anybody things they don't know, but an 18-hole golf course requires staff. In fact, we got a report from a consultant the mayor hired last year from Clemson that it was very clear about how much more staff we need and more equipment that we have to rent and so on, you know, chemicals, all the stuff you need for a quality course. So what I would feel better about is having a business plan put together, and maybe it refers back to one of the citizen comments about actually looking what, and I'm not saying I'm against citizens' tax dollars supplementing the course, but I think from the citizens' taxpayer point of view, they have a right to know what we anticipate that to be going forward. And of course, you know, projections are only your best guess estimate, but to say we're going to approve this and we're going to approve that, we're going to approve that, like there's no grand plan for the business end of this. And I think we owe the taxpayers a more thoughtful approach to what we want to spend out there, and be quite realistic about the staffing needs that we're going to go into this, and all of it, the equipment, the golf cart, you know, a million different pieces. The consultant from Clemson was real thorough in defining a lot of that. So, last month we tabled the maintenance building discussion because we needed more information. And personally, I would like to table this, which I guess means saying no to these people, until we can get a thorough understanding of what we want in the way of golf cart bridges, but also part of the big business model plan, so the citizens know this is not in a seat. I'm just really in favor of transparency and letting them know that we value this golf course. It's been here almost 100 years now, and this is what it's going to cost going forward, and this is what we anticipate the citizen tax portion of the cost to be. And we can decide whether we feel like that's worth it or not. But, you know, I personally think it's a valuable asset to the town, but to just approve things piecemeal, willy-nilly, without a grand plan, a business plan. Every business has a business plan, if they should, and that would be my preference, to table it until we get some more information.
So if we think we can do this for $90,000, I certainly don't feel comfortable approving a $199,000 bid. But we don't have that bid, or I don't have that bid, right? And we don't know if it is, so.
All I have is just a projected cost estimate based on his inspection of the bridges and his construction knowledge. When you deal with FEMA, you know, that person makes a bid on a FEMA project, he's agreeing to meet all federal regulations, you know, which is the American with Disabilities Act, debarment regulation. I mean, there's all kind of regulations that they gotta follow, so that's why your cost goes up. If you just wanna go out there and, rip out the old bridges and replace it with, some different bridges, you're at about $100,000, but are you really doing all of the necessary requirements?
So basically, that lower bid was, sounds like a verbal, and it would be not going through the FEMA process. That would be the town on the hook, we're not seeking reimbursement.
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah, that would be 100% our cost.
Exactly, but that would mean we could get the bridges done, get the golf course open, and start bringing money into the coffers, and not have to worry about it.
Just so you all know, I know I'm speaking out of turn, it does have to be ADA compliant.
All right, okay, thanks, all right.
It has to be 48 inches wide, but only one has to be ADA compliant if it can get to all areas.
But the point is, we need to move forward, and I hear your frustration about this is everything takes a long time, but we have to decide, the taxpayers deserve a better explanation about where their money's going. We don't even know how much we have in reserves right now. And like you said, 50,000 here, 100,000 there, it starts to add up, and
not to interrupt, but Matt brought this in. Under section 3.3 of the construction requirements on the bid document, under structural components, safety railing meeting AASHTO pedestrian bridge standards. So it was listed on the bid document for the RFP that we put out.
So you've got a railing there.
And if you're spending federal dollars, you gotta meet
Yeah,
that
but
regulation.
there again, let's just spend our dollars and get this thing. Talk about not having a plan, a business plan. I think 100 years of operating a golf course pretty much goes ahead and qualifies to have a business plan.
it was.
Especially whenever we made money.
Except we rarely did. In the last 18, out of the last 20 before the storm, 18 of them were in the red. In the last 2 years, we were in the black. Excellent, I love that. I hope we can continue. But I just think it's a transparency issue, and maybe we continue doing it exactly the way it was. But whenever we're talking about tax dollars and how we spend them, because if we can get the new carts skipping the FEMA process, if we skip that and get it done, the cart bridges for 90,000, hooray. But that's only the beginning of the expenses that are gonna have to go into the lower 9.
What other expenses are you thinking about?
Well, it's a cow pasture right now, the grass is not right.
Well, they've been mowing it.
They're mowing it, but it's not a quality, I'm not a golf course expert.
Where we're gonna
either.
store the maintenance equipment, all of that we've been talking about.
Yeah, but
And
we've got
staff.
$1 million to go ahead and
Staff,
put
a ton of staff,
on the
we're
building
gonna need a
there.
lot more staff, and
Well, we could use some more staff, yes, if you're gonna do that, but the gentleman from Clemson, very smart man, but there again, he's giving his opinion as to how many people that you need. If
I
you
know.
look at the past few years.
it's all opinion, but I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I would like to see it formalized and not done piecemeal, so we can say, we anticipate this year that we will supplement it with this much money,
Okay, can we then set up a committee to get this going?
I imagine you want to be in charge of that?
No.
You
Did
did
I say
before.
that? Did I
did
say that,
before.
Pam?
You
Let's
did
not make
before.
snide remarks.
You did
Please,
before.
let's not make snide remarks. Yeah, if we're gonna get the golf course open, if we're really sincere about getting the golf course open, we gotta do something. We've sat here and just simply talked and talked and talked and talked. This golf course should have been open over a year ago.
So, this may be a question for Craig. If we decide to forego the FEMA process, and open it up to bids that are, maybe have less regulation around them, a little more freedom to be less expensive, like this $90,000 bid. That's still over our bid threshold, right? So we would have to reopen a new bid, is that correct? Like, we couldn't just go with this
No.
firm.
All he's done is just give you a cost estimate outside of the normal bid process, because your bid process is closed.
So,
You accepted bids, and you've got, 5 bids here to consider, so you can't be, accepting new bids for the same.
right. So if we wanted to move forward with a potentially cheaper option, then we would need to resubmit a new RFP.
You could reject all the bids you have, reopen an RFP for the minimum amount of time that you have to open the RFP for, and then make the selection.
And then with this board, let's assume that we did that, okay? So we got new bids in. We're not gonna do FEMA, we're gonna do a run, so that we can generate money. And make sure it has a handrail, make sure it's 4 feet wide. Is this board comfortable with going ahead and getting that, and moving forward and getting that done?
I mean, I don't think I can answer that question.
We still follow formal bids.
If they all come back at $200,000, that's.
Well, no, I'm not, we're making an assumption here that this gentleman here knows what we're talking about. We're gonna get these.
I don't think I can answer that question without.
Well, so there's no,
You feel comfortable? with
can you give me, can someone please give me a game plan as to what we can do to get this golf course open?
May I make a suggestion, Richard, that we ask Brent to put together a game plan of exactly what's needed outside of just the bridges, but everything that would need to be done to open up the front nine so that we can look at that holistically as a board and understand what the next steps would be. And also, I have a lot of concern that we would not get reimbursed the $200,000 from FEMA in any sort of timely manner. And would like to explore cheaper alternatives if that is an option.
And,
Because I think FEMA's at what,
125.
yeah, 125, so.
is what, 120?
FEMA's reimbursement is currently at 125.
Based on the estimated
Times
cost.
what your bid's
Oh, okay.
199.
So that's $74,000 difference between that and this. And if this guy says he can do it for 80, that means it's really gonna, we're only $6,000 over what we're gonna have to pay anyway.
90, but, and no handrail, so.
Well,
It's gonna go up.
Handrails are not that
But
big a deal. I mean, I've been in building a long time.
I think there's, to your point, and sorry I'm all out of order on this, but yes, there's the risk of the FEMA reimbursement not coming through in a timely manner. There's the cost if the town pays the whole cost versus paying a portion of FEMA. But I think there's also, and I'll again defer to Craig, there's a process of making sure that we held an RFP process that was fair and equitable. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't like how this shook out with the one we got through the RFP process, reject it, run a 5-day bid process or whatever. If you know you have somebody coming back through, then you have a clean slate and you can make that decision knowing that you followed the correct processes in accordance with North Carolina state law. And that, I don't think that 5 to 7 days sets us back a tremendous amount, and then you get to a
No.
final answer.
Would the board would we be comfortable with following what Doug said, to get with Brent and have him have a list? He can have a list by the end of the week. I mean, it's not, he knows in his head how much what he's gotta have. And so that, then once that came, we go
There
ahead,
he is.
we get a bid process.
If you say Brent's name 3 times.
And then we have it within 2 weeks. And have a special meeting, call it, award the contract, and get going on the bridge.
Brent, you want to say anything?
No, but I can easily have everything we need by the end of the week. As far as my costs, on my end, what we need to do, to truly open this golf course, not throw a bunch of Band-Aids on it, try to limp along like we've done for the last 20 years, and make it operate the way that a golf course has to operate. If you want it to actually be successful, you have to put something into it up front. You can limp along, we've tried to do that, but eventually that doesn't work anymore. I think we've gotten to that point.
And that would also include then what you would have to raise golf fees.
Sure. I mean, it's just like
Because
everything
that would be
else in life is
necessary
getting
to
more
know
and
if we
more
can, that we
expensive.
can offset those costs.
Sure.
If it's gonna have costs.
Definitely.
Thank you, Brett.
And let me clarify something, that there is a difference between complying with state law as it relates to bidding process and approaching the bidding process as we want to make sure we understand the best price that's available. One is you have to comply with state law, the other one is just good fiscal management. State law, and I know they changed it recently, upped any construction project to $500,000. So I don't believe this project falls under a state law mandate that you go out and get bidded. But in terms of your policies of what do we normally do in order to get best prices for the town,
That's right.
you do these bidding things because you want to get the best price, right? So I just want to clarify that I don't think this is a mandate. This is just you applying a good business judgment.
If it's under $500,000, we can do informal bids. If it's over $500,000, you have to do formal bids, but we do have to follow that statute.
I thought there was some $30,000 informal bid threshold, formal bid versus informal bid.
I think that's
That was
for
design mode.
supplies.
That's purchasing supplies.
I'm sorry, what?
That's for purchasing supplies.
Oh, okay.
At construction, it's either under 500,000 or over 500,000. If it's under, you can do informal bids. You don't have to get, bid bonds, performance bonds and all that stuff. You can just do informal bids on the project.
So do I hear what the board and what Brent could have something to Richard by the end of the week? We go ahead and cancel all these bids that we have in, get up a new bid spec on the bridge, if you could help with that. And then hopefully we could get something within 2 weeks back as far as bids. And then if we could call a special meeting and see if y'all want to go with it. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes,
Okay.
and to reject this bid that's currently.
Yeah, reject all these bids. Yeah, reject all the bids.
When the LGC is done, you said it in a 2 to 3 week period, will we have a better understanding of what our current,
Yes.
general fund looks like as it stands?
Is you'll have your, complete audit by then. Tom, we'll know what our project costs are at the time. You also have several DOT projects that require 20% match. All that's gotta be, calculated in there as to what your future costs are. Public safety building, you're looking at probably, $17, $18 million. So, there's
Everybody satisfied with the golf course, right? Or at least with the plan for the golf.
I was like, that's a different question.
You're right. Okay,
Okay.
you've got your marching orders and so does Brent and all, so good.
Do we need a motion to reject the bids?
Yes.
I would do that.
Yeah, I think we do.
All right, I would move to reject the bid of Dan Grady Company LLC as presented and to, I don't know how to put this in parts, Craig, can you help?
Well,
You can just stop right there, I
Okay,
think.
stop right there, okay.
Yeah,
You got the rest of it?
you're rejecting all the bids pertaining to this project.
Okay.
Okay.
I would amend it to reject all the bids pertaining to this project.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
11.1 you don't need,
don't need it.
because we just took care of that. The last item is to set a date and time for the town attorney's annual evaluation.
I wanted to note, and this wasn't in the packet, but when we discussed this previously, we talked about having just 2 council members relay that feedback to the town attorney. I think for scheduling reasons, that would be easier, and I think with these feedback forms, that should kind of help us capture and summarize everyone's thoughts. So, open to discussing that, but that is what I had kind of brought to the table in previous conversations.
Sounds good to me. So we're looking at a timeline of submitting our feedback, our form by the next meeting.
So who do you want those to come back to, me or
Or Weston.
Wesley, either one? And then we'll compile them and
That sounds right.
I don't know if we need a motion for that, do we?
I don't think we need a motion.
I don't think we need a
I think
motion,
just
but,
action.
I think we need to look at our calendars, so. Yeah, and I also think if we select two council members, that could be done via email with Craig directly.
Yeah, well, not via email as a group, but,
No, the two that would be meeting to have that discussion
how would you pick the two?
as a group.
And how would you, in what process? Because you wouldn't be able to do it via email,
No, just,
at a meeting.
hey, I can do it,
I know, how are you gonna do that without communicating as a group?
like, right now, maybe.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. I'm happy to volunteer to be one of those folks. That doesn't need to be me.
I would support that. And I nominate Ryan to be the second.
That's fine, yeah.
Great. How long do y'all want to fill out, the forms? A week, 2 weeks?
I don't think a week is more than enough.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could have them by next Wednesday, maybe.
Great.
Great.
All right.
And if you'll forward those two on Wesley.
Okay.
All right. Done with that? Do I hear a motion for us to go into closed session
After a
after a quick break?
recess, I'll make that motion now.
Yeah, just make it now, then we'll just go into it. All in favor?
All right.
I'm sorry, you were right, I was had the formal process in my head.
Yeah, that's the,